Hi students, today we can study the remaining part of the chapter, that is immunity. You all know we are always exposing to the outer environment. There are large number of microorganisms, pathogens also there, but we are not affected by the disease every day. Why? Because our body has a natural ability to fight against the infectious agents, and this ability of the body to fight against infectious agent is known as immunity. This is known as immunity. Okay, this is the ability of the body to fight against infectious agents. Clear? Then we can classify the immunity into two types. First one is innate immunity and the second one is acquired immunity. So there are two types of immunity, innate immunity and acquired immunity. First we can study the innate immunity. It is innate, means it is present at the time of birth itself. Okay, and it is non-specific. Non-specific means it is not specific to a particular pathogen. It is general one. Okay. So innate immunity is non-specific immunity as well as it is present at the time of birth. And there are certain barriers which provide this innate immunity. And these barriers include, first one, physical barriers. Physical barriers. Physical barriers include skin on the body, then mucus. You know, mucus coating is present in our gastrointestinal tract, in our respiratory tract, in our urinogenital tract. So this mucus coating and the skin present on our body, these two provide physical barriers. These are the physical barriers. Okay, with the help of that, we can prevent the entry of microorganisms. The second type of barrier, that is known as the physiological barriers. Physiological barriers. These physiological barriers include saliva in the mouth, okay, tears in the eyes, and acid in the stomach. You know, hydrochloric acid is present in the stomach. This hydrochloric acid kills the germs that enter inside the stomach. Then tears is present in the eyes and saliva present in the mouth. These contain an antibacterial enzyme called lysozyme. This kills the bacteria. Okay, so these three, saliva, tears and acid, acts as the physiological barrier. Then the third one is the cellular barriers. Cellular barriers include different types of WBCs, leukocytes. Okay, and one example, polymorphonuclear leukocyte. Okay, then monocyte, then natural killer cell. Natural killer cells. These three present in the blood, and macrophages present in the tissue. These act as the cellular barrier, different types of WBCs. And the last type is known as the cytokine barrier. Cytokine, it is very important. Previous board question. Cytokine barrier means when a cell is affected by virus, it releases a protein called interferon. Okay, that protein is known as the interferons. these proteins, means these interferons, prevent other cells from viral infections. That is cytokine barrier. So cytokine barrier means when a cell is affected by virus, it releases proteins called interferons which prevent other cells from viral infections. Okay. So these are the different types of barriers. Physical barrier, physiological barrier, cellular barriers and cytokine barriers. These barriers provide the innate immunity. Okay. Now we can move to the next one, that is acquired immunity. So here it is acquired. Acquired means it is not present at the time of birth. We acquire this during our lifetime. Okay. And acquired immunity is generally specific to pathogen. Here the innate immunity, that is non-specific, but acquired immunity is specific. Here it is present at the time of birth, but acquired immunity not present at the time of birth, but we acquire during the lifetime. Here, when the pathogen encounters the body for the first time, our body responds, but the response is very mild, low intensity. Okay, and that response is known as the primary response. Primary response, the first response, low intensified response, mild response. Okay, but our immune system has the ability to remember that. Memory is there. So, when the same type of pathogen encounters the body, in the next time, the response is very vigorous, high intensified response, and that is known as the secondary response, or it is known as anamnestic response. Okay, secondary response or anamnestic response. This question once asked in board exam. When does the body elicit anamnestic response? So when the body elicit that? When the same pathogen encounters in the body for the second time, our body responds, or it produces secondary response. It is highly intensified one. Okay, and there are two types of lymphocytes in our body that is responsible for this immunity. That is B lymphocyte and T lymphocyte. Okay, B lymphocyte and T lymphocyte. B lymphocyte generally produces a protein called antibody. So when the pathogen enters the body, B lymphocyte produces antibodies. Okay, they provide the response by like this, antibodies. But here the T lymphocyte, that does not produce antibodies directly, but it helps the B lymphocyte to produce the antibody. Okay, and the antibodies generally contain two heavy chain and two light chain. So it can be represented as H2L2, two heavy chain and two light chain. And different types of antibodies are there in our body. IgA, IgM, IgE, etc. These are the different types of antibodies. Okay. So here I told the B lymphocyte generally produce antibodies. These antibodies are present in the blood. So this type of response by producing antibodies, that is known as the humoral immune response. Okay, so immune response by producing antibodies known as the humoral immune response, and the T lymphocyte that is not producing antibodies, but the lymphocyte, T lymphocytes response, that is known as the cell mediated response. You know, during organ transplantation, if that organ is not matching with the patient, blood matching or organ matching, everything is needed. If it is not matching, that person's body rejects that particular organ. That means our body has the ability to differentiate self from non-self. And that graft rejection is because of the cell-mediated immune response. And which lymphocyte is responsible for that? It is T lymphocyte. Okay, so T lymphocyte is responsible for graft rejection. Okay, that is one type of classification, innate immunity and acquired immunity. Another type of classification is active immunity and passive immunity. Active and passive immunity. You know, when a pathogen enters the body, our body itself prepares antibody and reacts it. That case is known as the active immunity. Here the body itself produces the antibody. So that immunity is known as active immunity. But in some cases, we directly give the prepared antibodies. The prepared or the ready-made antibodies are directly given to the body. And that is known as the passive immunity. You learn colostrum, the milk produced during the initial stages of lactation, that contain antibody. Here the colostrum contain IgA. The antibody present in the colostrum is IgA. Okay, so in that case is known as the passive immunity because we directly give the ready-made antibody. And the vaccination or in the immunization program, we are using this process. Here the mild antigen or the deactivated antigen is given to the body and triggers our body to produce antibodies. That is active immunization. But in the critical stages like snake bite or tetanus, there the ready-made antibodies are given. Okay, that is passive immunization. So one example, passive immunity. One example, colostrum contain IgA and the fetus also receives certain antibodies through the placenta. All these are examples of passive immunity. Anti-venom is also passive immunization or passive immunity. Okay. Then in some cases, our body responds to certain substance very exaggerately. Such exaggerated response of the body to certain substance is known as allergy. Allergy. So allergy means the exaggerated response of the body to certain substances. And the substance which cause allergy is known as allergens. Okay, dust, pollen grains, animal dandruff, all these are some of the examples of allergens. And the general symptoms include sneezing, itching, and sometimes watery eyes, running nose, all these occur. And this is because of the production of an antibody IgE. Okay, IgEs. The antibody associated with allergy is IgE. And here the mast cells release certain chemicals, that is histamine and serotonin. Because of these chemicals, these allergic reactions arise. So we can reduce the severity by using the drugs like antihistamine, adrenaline, some steroids, etc. So allergy is the exaggerated response of the body to certain substances. Okay. So that is all about the immunity, different types of immunity. So here you have to study innate immunity, acquired immunity, different types of barriers, then active immunity, passive immunity and allergy. That is all about today's topic. The remaining part we can study in the next class. Thank you.